Hello. As you can see, I got tags on the back of this truck, finally. Earlier today, I took the truck for a recheck for safety and emissions. Previously, it had failed for brakes and emissions. The reading for hydrocarbons was too much. So I'm going to go over today what I did to reduce the hydrocarbons and fix the brakes so that they pass inspection. Okay. So here in Delaware, anything, I believe 1968 and older, or I'm sorry, 1968 and newer, requires an emissions check, even if it's going to be antiqued. The initial inspection, or the first inspection it has, must have an emissions inspection. Now, the older vehicles like this, up until 1980, I think, they use an idle, at idle speed. They put a device in the tailpipe to measure the carbon dioxide and hydrocarbons. I believe that's what they do, and that's what they did with us here. Initially, the test ran, and I failed the emissions because I had way too many hydrocarbons. Okay, the minimum for hydrocarbons is 600 something or other per something or other, and I had 1040 or 1040 parts per million, whatever it is, I'm not sure, but the minimum was 600. I had 1040. It was too much. So I checked on the brakes as well when I failed, and the back brakes were not locking up, and I tried bleeding them, and I wasn't successful at bleeding them. So I took them into a shop. They put a device on it. They said I didn't bleed them enough. Apparently, there was a lot of air in the lines, and they successfully bled them. So the brakes were good. So what I did to reduce the hydrocarbons on the truck, some simple stuff that's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, what it had on there, and it failed with this. It came from North Carolina. It did not have a catalytic converter. Now, these trucks had catalytic converters on them originally, and somebody had cut the catalytic converter off, and I believe it also had a smog pump. Somebody took the smog pump out. So first thing I did was put a catalytic converter on. Well, in and of itself, that wasn't enough, because even with the catalytic converter on it, it still failed inspection. Physically, they had to see the catalytic converter on it, so that was good, but the test result was not good. So what I did was I checked the spark plugs, cap and rotor. I saw that they had cap and rotor had some wear on it. It wasn't terrible, but any little bit helps. So I put a new cap and rotor on it. This doesn't have points. It's Ford's. I think it's called a DuraSpark, whatever it is. It's their electronic ignition, their old school electronic ignition. But anyway, I put a new cap, new rotor, new wires, and also I pulled the plugs. And I noticed that several of the plugs were loose, weren't even tightened in there, and a number of plugs had a gap that was way too wide. So not only that, the plugs were old and needed to be changed anyway. Could have cleaned them and regapped and threw them in there, but I wanted this to pass inspection, so I used brand new parts. Not expensive plugs, just the standard plugs that went with it. Gapped them properly, put them in there, tighten them down as they should be, put the new wires in, and there you go. Okay, that's what I did for that. Also, one of the things I noticed I was reading up on is high test gas or premium gas burns cleaner. So I put a solution in the tank that says guaranteed to pass, or I don't know what brand it is, but it says guaranteed to pass on there. And I followed the instructions, ran it through the system, and then I refilled the tank with premium gas. Okay. So that's what I did with that. Put premium gas in there. And when I took it through inspection, the inspection numbers were outstanding. It had a maximum of, like I said, 600 parts per million of hydrocarbon, whatever that is, and it was, mine measured 47, or I think it was 47, and the carbon dioxide was almost non-existent. So those little changes help that much. And also I forgot the carburetor, the fuel and air idle adjustment, which is down here. You got a little screw there. You see the fuel air idle adjustment. The fuel air idle adjustment was turned out, looked like about 4 times. And I remember from old school days that they recommend you turn it out about 1.5 times, 1.5 to 2 times. So I turned that back in and turned it out 1.5 times. So I adjusted the air fuel mixture down and leaned it out. I think it's probably what the main benefit was, but every little bit helps. An old trick a lot of guys do, and this isn't a legit thing, but one of the things to do, and I'm not advocating this or anything like this, I'm just telling you because I know a lot of people did this, was they pulled the PVC or PCV valve. Pulling the PCV valve eliminates you getting blow-by, any kind of blow-by, which is the carbon, oil, smoke into the carburetor to burn it out. So that eliminates that. Not saying that's legit, not recommending it, but it's just something that, quote unquote, a lot of people do. So anyway, car pass inspection, just passing on some tricks and everything like that to get your car pass inspection if your state has an emissions. Good luck. Take care.